establish a colony in the New World. Where? Right here, on this 1,500-acre, low-lying, swampy, disease-ridden, blood-infested monkey island with no natural freshwater streams, and it will become the first permanent English colony here in British North America. Now, and you thought that Duke of Gloucester Street in Williamsburg was the most famous street here in the colony of Virginia? Well, you're absolutely correct, but that was in the 18th century. This is the 17th century. And in the 17th century, the most famous street here in the colony of Virginia was that dirt road on the other side of that berm over there. Are you ready for the name of it? The street? You're going to be impressed. Believe me when I tell you that the town fathers would think long and hard about the names they're going to give the two streets here in Newtown. Are you ready for the name of that street? It was called Back Street. Just Back Street.
It's a big piece of iron scrap metal. She found something.
Which meant that the High Court here primarily dealt with three people accused of a felony, named a capital crime, which could be murder, manslaughter, grand theft, piracy, arson, blasphemy. There was a long list. But also very large civil disputes between all these big landed families, gentry families in Virginia, involving a lot of land and a lot of money. And so those civil disputes were always decided usually by justices on the High Court. But most free people standing trial here requested a jury to hear their case. And the jury had to come to a unanimous decision, and so once all the evidence is heard,
Well, copper, believe it or not, is a training alternative to silver. They both work remarkably similar, but
Hear ye! From Philadelphia, a unanimous declaration from our representatives to the Grand Congress. July 4th, 1776, give attendance to these words. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
We must, therefore, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states.
Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. And that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance upon the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
3 cheers for these United States! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! God bless America and the rights of the same!
It's also more expensive because somebody has to hand forge each nail, which that can be done pretty quickly and pretty affordably unless you're throwing them into shoes, which wear out. So we're going to use wooden pegs to fasten the heel back. This technology dates back to the year 500, and it is still the most efficient if you plan to hand spin a short and slick fiber. And that is the perfect description when it comes to the type of cotton we're growing here. Just plucking a little piece out, it'll tell you that the staple length or the average length of the fiber is a ½ inch to an inch at very best. So when you have these really tiny fibers, you want to keep them overlapping so you can make a continuous piece as long as you need it. That's going to require a ton of twist. So that's so time intensive to process that it's really not going to become a cash crop until we have Eli Whitney's cotton in. So the time period we're talking about in town today, so you walk up and down the street, is 1763 to 1783. Eli Whitney's cotton gin is 1793. So we're 10 years shy of having that technology. So we're hand picking the seeds out. You might have the opportunity to do that today behind the Prentice store. We have a really neat plot of farmed land where they are growing cotton. It's 40 hours of work for every pound of fiber you wish to pluck from the seeds.
One in four.
Back and forth, going through my settling sequence to make sure that I'm raising and lowering the right yarn to continue my pattern. And that means in our shop, we're trying to get the process is more than an actual operation required. So this took 5 to 7 years to learn how to do in the 18th century.
However, when the king found out that Governor Botetourt died, he sent a letter to John Murray. Actually, several letters which you just ignored, but ultimately he got the gist of the message. Hey John, those letters said, you'll get a promotion. Rather than being up in New York, which, let's face it, nobody likes New York, except if you're from New York anyway, go down to the oldest, largest, wealthiest, most populous colony in all of North America. You get to go down to Virginia. Aren't you excited? No, he's not excited. He says it's too hot. We're uncivilized, uneducated, and we live in mud huts. And then this secret letter is published in the newspaper just before his arrival. Now, how do you feel when you see these British weapons? Intimidated. Most definitely. You kind of have the opposite effect, right? No longer are these a promise of surrender. These are now a symbol of bondage. So no matter who you were, you got a message from this space. Step right and sink left. Step right, step left, step right, sink left, step right, sink left, step right, step left, step right, sink left, step right, sink left. In essence, the second and the 6th beats you sink. And the lower you go, the more graceful you are. I do not have it. A breather before you go back into the ballroom to do some more dancing. So you are very, very glad to see this space. But at this point, you're celebrating with Lord Dunmore. You're even hailing him as a hero. You're going out west and opening up those western lands. Now, granted, he's not our most popular governor we've ever had. He only had 1 ball. He had 3 different reasons to have 3 different balls. Governor Botetourt most definitely would have had at least 3 different balls. But Lord Dunmore is Scottish, and Scotsmen are said to be somewhat frugal with their money. So you can understand why he's only having 1. We are still content to have Lord Dunmore as
new continent now lays before us a great promise. That promise is these new United States, for you have heard the news, have you not?
Yeah.
Fresh from Philadelphia, independence has been declared. We have turned the entire power of government over to the people. What a beautiful, stupid idea. We had the audacity in this year of 1776 to not just declare independence, and not just take the crown off of one man's head, but turn right around and place that crown upon all men. This is the radical nature of 76. This is the radical nature of what it means to be a citizen now in these new United States of America. We are now citizens. We no longer exist as subjects, this title which was placed upon us for our entire lives until someone wrote some bit of treason this year. I didn't wish to do that business, you know. I was the third choice, in fact. Nonetheless, that committee was formed on June 11th to create this Declaration of America's Independence should the vote go in that direction. We had not yet voted for the thing, you know. The committee as a whole, which we had dissolved into out of Congress and in committee as a whole, we decided that should the vote go in the direction, we could already be finished with the product. We could already take that product, those drafts of the Declaration of America's Independence out of subcommittee and commit them to the committee as a whole. Then on June 12th, we five men sat around an oval table covered in green broadcloth and asked ourselves, who's going to do this business? Understand, when that committee was formed, was not five men chosen with one man chosen to do the business, but just five men chosen to get the business done. You know who was on that committee? George Mason. Nay, he was here in Williamsburg, in fact, writing the Declaration of Rights. And we have Mr. George Mason to thank for our Declaration of Rights in Virginia, do we not? That Declaration of Rights, written in that very building, under the tutelage of Mr. George Mason, is now being used as a model for all the other 12 colonies. Looking at his work, now understanding that government should, first and foremost, have one object, and that is to protect the rights of its people. Yes? And that whenever any government becomes destructive to these rights, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish such government. Yes? So no, it was not George Mason.
Roger Sherman.
Roger Sherman, yes. John Adams, yes. Livingston, Robert Livingston of New York, yes. Dr. Franklin, of course, yes, and?
Dickinson.
Yes, last, me, thank you. You could have started with the easy one, you know.